Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I think we have to kick off the program.
Waiting your guy talk.
Distinguished.
He don't come for long, we can't stay for outside.
You see, make I tell you, in that meeting. In that meeting. Don't tell me, but I forgot to tell you.
Hello? How far?
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wish to warmly welcome you to Inside the Arena Season 8. Today, Inside the Arena is a very distinguished son of the soil, a man who has traversed the length and breadth of the engineering profession and has left a mark, an indelible mark in the annals of the Nigerian history and the engineering history, of course. A first-class graduate of the prestigious Imperial College London. I'm also a PhD in structural engineering from the Imperial College London. He served as president of the Association for Consulting Engineering in Nigeria, and also served as the president of the apex engineering body, the Nigerian Academy of Engineering. He's the chairman of AMANA Consulting Limited. It's my pleasure to welcome a very distinguished engineer, EDET, James AMANA, PhD, FNSE, FAEng, and of course, a recipient of the National Honor of Officer of the Order of the Niger inside the arena. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Engineer Ben Osi.
Can you please increase your volume?
Okay. I will have to get my assistant to assist me with the volume management.
All right.
Okay, come up.
Good to have you inside the arena. And all the participants, I wish to warmly welcome you inside the arena. I remain your host, Engineer Ben O.C. Oko. Let's go straight to Engineer AMANA. Engineer AMANA, I don't know if you are familiar with this quote, and I will repeat it, and I will ask my first question with that quote. I can testify that Dr. AMANA is unassuming and simple. In a country where tribes and tongues differ, it is a testimony that Dr. AMANA does not see people through the ethnic lenses. He is at home with the Yorubas, the Igbos, and respected in the North. Among his own Oron people, he is revered and highly esteemed. So this is a quote from the former spokesperson man to Mr. President. That's talking about President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, talking about Segun Adeniyi. Now, my question is this: does this quote define your personality?
Well, Ben, I think the person who wrote that bit must have looked at me to see how I dance. There is a quote which I also want to share with you, that the dancer does not know how he performs. It's only those who watch him who can testify to how well he is performing. So if that quote from Adeniyi, I suppose, is one from somebody who has watched me and made the quote. I think I identify with it. Is the volume okay now?
And I concur to that description.
I think I have lost the volume.
No, we can hear you, sir. We are hearing you.
Oh, good. Very good.
I hear you, yes.
I think
Okay, can you hear me now, sir?
it's better now. Yeah, I can hear. And yeah, I
Now,
was
on Sunday, the 11th day of December, in the year of our Lord, 1938, the heavens declared the glory of God, and the firmament proclaimed his handiwork in the land of OON. At exactly 5:20 a.m. that fateful day, the renowned Scottish midwife, Stead, pronounced the birth of a son to the family of teacher James Abidiak Amana. Tell us about your birth, tell us about your family background, and tell us about your education.
good. Well, the quote which you have again brought up is quite accurate. I was born on Sunday, the 11th of December, 1938, and born into the family of a Methodist teacher and preacher. My father was a school teacher and very passionate with preaching the gospel of Christ. My mother was, of course, a very loyal housewife. And I am the second in the family. Before me was my sister. Her name is Dr. Mrs. FAEng. She is married to the former Vice Chancellor of UNICAL. So it was a joyous day for them when I came in as the first son of the family. Oyubia is a town noted for education. It is a center for early education in that part of the country, and so my birth was into that environment where education and, of course, Christianity, flourished. So that is my background of education and Christianity. And that has really been what has carried me all through life.
can you share about your more about your education career?
Good. Okay. So, being the son of a school teacher, the early part of my education was very, very interesting. I never really registered in any class, but I just followed my father to school. And at that time, because of the schooling environment, it was very easy. So I just followed, and when I passed the exam, I then enrolled as a student. My passage through primary school was very swift. When I was in the I think it was called primary 4, I think primary 4. So the school decided to let me attempt the entrance to secondary schools with those in primary 5. So I did, and I did something very interesting. Being a Methodist, I had the option of going to either of two Methodist institutions. One was the local one near to me in Oron. The other one was a bit further away in Uzwakali. Those who know the geography of Eastern Nigeria will appreciate those two places. In those days, it was a 2-day journey to go from Oron to Uzwakali, because the first day was by Mami Wagon to Umuahia, and then we had to sleep the night in Umuahia, and then the following day, another day's journey to Uzwakali. Uzwakali is about 12 miles from Umuahia, but the road was very, very bad. And so it was a very tedious journey. So when I was going to secondary school, my mother preferred that I go to the nearby school, but I wanted to go to the my sense of adventure decided that I should go to the farther school. And
you said was it for expedition?
It was a sense of adventure. Young people at times want to have that feeling of adventure, and my mother thought it was not funny at all. But my father was very supportive, and so I went to Uzwakali to the entrance, and then I passed. And of course, I did my secondary school training in Uzwakali. And in Uzwakali, it was a 5-year program, 5-year course. And in the 5th year, I decided to take entrance exam to King's College for higher school. And normally, Uzwakali would have wanted me to stay back and do my higher school in Uzwakali, because it was just at that time beginning a higher school program. But you see, this is one of the things which I have said about my course in life, the guidance which I received from God. If Uzwakali had told me not to take the entrance exam, the course of my life would have been quite different, because I would have done my high school in Uzwakali, and I would have had the exposure which I had when I came to King's College. But because of providence, I took the entrance exam to King's College, and I passed. And so I moved from Uzwakali Secondary School to higher school in King's College, Lagos, with the exposure which I had, of course, in the Cosmopolitan Center, which is Lagos. And that, of course, opened up an entirely new vista for me. So that is the story of my life. It's been punctuated with providence from God.
Barely 8 months after you were born, then came the Second World War. Did the war have any direct impact on your life?
Oh, yes. During a war situation, there is a shortage of everything in the world, in fact, because this was a world war. That shortage was everywhere. Of course, Nigeria being a colony of Britain, with Britain at war, it meant that we were also at war. And so the things which we would normally have from Britain were not forthcoming because the British economy was focused on the war. Everything was focused on production for the World War. So in those days, at that time, people who had bicycles had no tires. If the tire of bicycle got worn, then you would have to hang the bicycle up because there were no tires. Those who had cars, if they had a problem with the car would just be parked. So and of course there was massive drafts of able-bodied young people into the military. And many Nigerians were sent to fight in India, in Burma, and so schools closed down. The economy was bad, and that affected me as a child. As a child, most of the things which I would have enjoyed were not there.
As a first-class graduate of Imperial College, was lecturing ever an option to you? It's traditional that anybody that makes first class will find himself in the four walls of the university. Was lecturing ever an option to you?
Oh, yes. Yes, in fact, from Imperial, I had the option of lecturing, but I also had the option of practice. Practice, I very much enjoy practice, design. So the option of lecturing became second. And because at that time, when I decided to come back to Nigeria, the schools, the opportunities for lecturing were very few. Practice, of course, became the way to go. I did actually get an offer of a chair in ABU, but I couldn't take it up because of the war situation.
Okay, now let me ask you, you worked with Shell and later left to form AMANA Consortium in 1972. AMANA Consortium is 50 years today and is one of the leading consulting engineering firms in Nigeria. What inspired you at that age? You were 34 at that time. What inspired you to take that bold step?
What inspired me to take the bold step of going into practice on my own was that I already had a lot of work experience in the UK, in which I had proved my mettle. when I graduated in 1963, when I got my first degree, I was hired by one of my professors because he ran a consulting outfit, a specialist consulting outfit. His name is Dr. Flint, Professor Flint. His company was called Flint and Neal. And he hired me to work in his company. And within the period I was with him, I did a lot of excellent work. I was exposed to very interesting structural designs. The guy, we designed the guide mast. At that time, the tallest mast in Europe, Crystal Palace mast, was designed by us in his office, and I worked on that project with my chief engineer. I did a lot of work on buildings, retaining walls. Retaining walls are very popular in the UK because most buildings have a basement. So I did a study of retaining walls, and at that time, when there were no computers to solve these problems very quickly, it made sense to have a catalog of stereotypes which could just be picked and applied. So I worked out quite a few stereotypes retaining walls for Flint and Neal, and that made the practice very, very successful. I then again worked with a company called Sir Bruce White's. Sir Bruce White's was a very well-known company because during the World War II, they are the people, the designers who did the work on the Mulberry landings. Unfortunately, history is not being taught in Nigerian schools, so many of the things I'm talking about, many people are not familiar with. But the Mulberry landings was when the Allied forces, especially Britain, landed in France to help to take back, to ensure that France was not captured by the Germans. So that company was very well known, and when I was there, I had the great privilege of working on the design of the Hogarth flyover. Hogarth flyover was the design which I carried out and which won a prize in innovation. It was the design given to the company, and I worked with my chief engineer on it, and I brought up ideas in the design which won a prize in innovation. These are the things which give me confidence. I worked on several projects. In fact, I can tell you, my colleagues told me that what I did in 2 years, many of them would take 3 or 4 years to do. But I was very passionate about gathering experience. Yes, because I knew that I would need that experience in practice. So that is what encouraged me to set out to practice early in my career.
Let me take you to this, sir. How was engineering consultancy at the peak of your career compared to what we have now? Would you have taken that step now? And again, is there hope for a 34-year-old engineer who wants to embark on a similar journey today?
Well, the times are different. When in the early 70s, when many Nigerians set up consultancy companies, there was a construction boom in the country. There was a construction boom. The oil money was was quite good, was flowing, and there was the need for reconstruction after the Civil War. So there were lots and lots of projects, and it was that opportunity which many of us cashed in on. Also, the kind of support which we received from government was incredible. All that one had to do was to establish that they could do the work, and they would just be given opportunity to do the work, which is very different from what happens now. Now, at that time, of course, merit was the only criterion for giving projects. If you were good enough to do it, then government would entrust you with that assignment. So yes, the time was quite appropriate for the kind of things which we did. The times now are different. I don't know that I think things are now a lot more difficult than they were then. So if it was now, maybe I would still have done it, but it would have been a different kettle of fish.
Why are things bad now?
Why are things bad now? Well, I think if you look at the trend in our country, it is unfortunate. Many things are trending downwards in our country. I can tell you that at the time I graduated, and in fact into the 70s, no Nigerian wanted to stay back in the UK, in America. Many of them wanted to come back home. But now the trend is different. Many people, many graduates don't want to come back home, and those who are home want to get out. And that is a terrible thing for our country, because we are losing, in fact, that's one of the greatest tragedies which we are facing as a country. Our best brains are not remaining in the country to build up the country. We are now the greatest exporter of the best manpower. In fact, we export, that is the, apart from oil, in fact, oil is not our biggest export. Our biggest export is trained manpower. And that is a tragedy, because the amount of investment which goes into the development of a child from childhood to a state in which that child or that person has acquired a degree, there's a lot of investment. Investment from the family, investment from the nation, and to then lose all that investment, it is tragic. So I think one of the things which, of course, we must think about and do is to find a way to stem the exodus of our best trained manpower from the country. And in fact,
When
not only
the question has remained,
but also bring back those who've gone out.
The question has been, I think I brought this question to you. I think it was during the AMANA roundtable meeting, and I am so much worried that if you travel to other countries, let me use United Arab Emirates and Singapore for example. If you come into their airport, you see a display of their geometric, or exponential progression, where they were so many years ago, where they are, and where they are going. You know that they have a systematic plan of development. Now, I became worried because I saw a picture of Ibadan recently. Somebody posted it online, Ibadan 1976 and Ibadan 2021. Ibadan 1976 was looking more beautiful, more polished, or I would say more galvanized than Ibadan 2021. Why this retrogressive movement? Because people, our elders keep making reference. And each time you discuss with our elder, we say, oh, during our days, things were like this. During our days, we enjoyed this. What story will the present generation tell the future generation?
Well, what story will the present generation tell future generation? I think we must work hard at that, because the story which is ongoing is not palatable. Yes, you're right. In the 70s, UCH Ibadan was a world center, for health services. UCH Ibadan. It was one of the best in the world, really. Youth at the beginning was also a world-recognized center. But where are they now? There is decay. Now, in fact, it's not only in health and education. In industries, the bulk of Nigerian industries, those industries which supported the growth of the economy, employment of people, they've all packed up. Many exported companies are now have moved away from the country. Dunlop, name it, they've relocated to nearby countries, Ghana and so on, where governance is better. So governance is at the root, governance. And I think if we must change the narrative, then we must do something about the governance. The insecurity which we are going through now is one of the greatest things which does not promote investment. Nobody wants to invest in an insecure environment. In fact, capital is very timid. Where there is insecurity, investment capital runs away. So these are the things which we as the people we must think about, talk about, and take action to put right.
You are a very devoted Christian, and somebody jokingly told me one day that one of the fundamental problems of Nigeria is that we work less and we pray too much. That in other advanced countries, they work more and they pray less. Is that true?
No.
Your success in life, was it a product of hard work or a product of prayer?
Oh, success is a product of both. In fact, prayer without work is not effective. The good book says so. So you know, to have success, both spiritual and material success, is what the Bible also promotes. And to have that, you must combine hard work, with prayer. Prayer supports the hard work and makes it fruitful.
Thank you so much. Now, talking about work, what were your biggest challenges you encountered or you've encountered in your practice? And tell us your biggest breakthrough in engineering practice.
What
talking about your practice?
Yes, the biggest challenge I encountered. Well, one of the issues which we have faced in the practice in this environment is the tendency of people not to come together to form big organizations. So I am privileged to have helped to train many engineers, but quite often, as soon as they acquire some experience, they want to set up their own practice. This, of course, you cannot stop, because I believe that is a phase which we were passing through. But I think very soon we shall reach a phase in which people are come to appreciate the need to bond together to form bigger organizations where the benefits of size can be achieved. So that was one of the issues which we've seen in the 50 years of our practice. Your second question, please, can you remind me the second part of the question?
I said the biggest breakthrough you have had.
Good.
In your practice.
The biggest breakthrough which we have had was in the 70s. In the 70s, there was need for massive infrastructure development in education, in transportation, name it. And our breakthrough was in education. And we had the great and very, very wonderful responsibility of supervising the construction of all the teacher training colleges in the country. They were designed centrally by the Federal Ministry of Education. And so we were the clients to the Federal Ministry of Education, and they were built all over the country because there was the need to train teachers. That was the biggest breakthrough we had. And we've had wonderful opportunities, of course, to add value in the environment. We're part of the master plan for Abuja, the transportation master plan. It was a great privilege to see how the transportation of the city will develop, and we're part of it. We are also then the master plan for Niger Delta region. We were part of that development. We've had inputs into oil and gas. In fact, when I was president of FAEng, I decided to see how engineering consultants in FAEng could become part of the engineering services in oil and gas sector, because of course oil and gas is the biggest industry in our country, and I thought it was appropriate that ACAN members should be part of that in that industry. So these are areas, of course, which we have had the great privilege to serve.
Wow. I was thrilled when you mentioned teachers training colleges across the country, but unfortunately, honestly, we were beneficiaries of teachers training colleges and women training colleges. When we were pupils, we used to have people sent from women training colleges to come and teach us. But unfortunately, those colleges are no longer in place today. I think the Ministry of Education has to do something about that. But now, talking about ACAN, you mentioned ACAN. Let me take you back to engineering professional associations. We are the 77th registered engineer by CORE. Your registration number is 0077. You became a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers in 1981. You were also elected as the 10th president of ACAN. You served 2004 to 2005. And when I say coincidentally or by providence, you took over from my very good friend, my mentor, and my father in the profession, Engineer Lanre Shagaya. And also, you served as the president, 6th president of the Nigerian Academy of Engineering. Can you give us some insights into your presidency of ACAN and that of the Nigerian Academy of Engineering?
Good. I took over from Lanre. Lanre, of course, is a fantastic engineer, and he was a great president. And continued from where he left off. When I took over, I noticed quite a few things which we had to do in ACAN. One is that in ACAN and also in the academy, the president runs everything which has to do with the organization. And I thought that to be more effective, we should have an executive secretary, the kind of thing which, the kind of situation which happens in the NSE. Have an executive secretary, a kind of a chief executive of the organization, who works with the president and with council to ensure that there is continuity. There's continuity. So one of the things which I did when I was president of ACAN was to work very hard and get support from some of my colleagues, including Lanre and others, to bring in a chief executive for ACAN. So we employed a chief executive before I left. But even before we got to that stage, I did quite a few things. One was that engineers, we have got a training which is very, very much skewed towards the technical aspect of things. You know, we love to do our designs and so on. But when you are in practice, as a consulting engineer, you are not only doing technical things, you must also learn management, administration. And so I decided to start the School of Consulting Engineering, the FAEng School of Consulting Engineering, in which we had programs which taught technical subjects and also administrative issues to help engineers who are in practice to master the techniques of administration. I've mentioned about the need for FAEng members to get involved in oil and gas. It appeared to me not very proper that oil and gas was and still is the mainstay of our economy, and FAEng members were only doing highways and buildings and ports and so on, but not involved in oil and gas service engineering services. So I led a delegation of FAEng to my very good friend, also an ex-Imperial College person, an Imperial College alumnus, Dr. Who was at that time the Minister of Petroleum. And I discovered with him, I said, look, he was a few years behind me in Imperial. So we had very good rapport. And it was then that the local context, the local content idea began. So in fact, the root of the local content idea came from that discussion which I had with the Amayaraba of Nembe. Right. So FAEng members were brought into engineering in oil and gas sector, and so many.
What of the academy?
Come again.
What of the academy?
The academy, right? The academy again suffers from the same situation in which there is no executive secretary, and so programs which are started managed in committees. Now, of course, in academy, the committee system is working very, very well because the committees are continuous. But all the same, you need executive to coordinate. So I also brought in the issue of the executive for the academy, and quite a few innovations also, including that of providing an environment in which the fellows have what is called the academy dinner, in which the fellows have after the induction of new fellows, there is a dinner in which the fellows socialize. As a whole, I love innovation. So wherever I find myself, I try to see how I can innovate. And in those areas in which I've had the privilege of serving, I've always brought in some innovative idea.
All right. You also served, you were a director in Citibank for many years and also served as pro-chancellor of Wesley University. Can you give us the roles you played in these organizations?
Right. Citibank is inarguably one of the best managed banks in the country, And for me to have served as the director of that bank for 25 years was a great privilege. In that time, I was able to bring engineering expertise. You'll be surprised. Engineers can perform excellently in every area of endeavor, really, because of our discipline, our way of organizing, our thinking, and of course, we are action-oriented people. Engineering trains us to take action, not just to talk or just to think, but to take action. And these are attributes which have been very useful. In Citibank, I served them for 25 years. And even when I retired as a director, they retained me as chairman of the audit committee, because you were surprised, as engineer, I was in charge of audit, and many of the accountants who work in the bank.
As pro-chancellor.
As pro-chancellor. Pro-chancellor was a great opportunity for me also, because it gave me the opportunity to try to bring to this environment, bring home what I have seen happening in good universities abroad. You know, the issue of universities depending entirely on the proprietors for funding does not happen anywhere but in Nigeria. In a university, you have the greatest asset of the brains of the professor, the lecturers, and the brains of the young people. These are tremendous assets which can be mobilized in many ways to support the growth of society and the economy. And one way which I tried to get this to happen at Wesley was to encourage the lecturers to have even small research ideas. You know, Ondo is a center for cocoa production, and I thought one of the things which the lecturers could do was to do some simple research on cocoa planting problems and so on, in which they would get support from industry. So industry and academia link is what is so very important, and is the way in which we can make our economy grow. That's what the things which of the innovations I brought into my pro-chancellorship in Wesley University, Ondo.
I think you try to be very modest. I read, and I can emphatically quote what Professor Olu Aderumu, who was the vice chancellor of the university, wrote about you. He said that as pro-chancellor, you donated a minimum of 1 million every year to the school, plus other financial support. You were so modest, you didn't want to mention that, but it's on record that you supported the school tremendously as pro-chancellor. And that's a very big plus, commendable act by you. Now let's go into politics. You were a very great ally of Chief Awolowo. In fact, you hosted him in 1974 in Calabar. Then why did you join MPP over, or why did you choose MPP over the Action Group? And later, you left MPP to join the MPN. Why?
Well, okay, politics. Politics is a very interesting game. And it's a game which, and you must see it as a game. It's a game. It's a game just as life itself is a game. Life itself is a game. And in politics, you try to see how you can, the best politics is that in which the player tries to see how he can achieve the objective of his constituents. So when you have a constituency which has got particular needs, and the way to achieve those needs is by aligning yourself, ally with different kinds of people. Then, of course, you find out the best way to go. I've always had an interest in politics, but not initially, not in going into I would say combatant politics, but to see how I could use my own position to facilitate achievement of political objectives. So in those 70s, late 70s, when the country was getting back into civilian administration, we tried to find a way to facilitate it, to make it happen, and of course to make it happen in such a way that progress was sustainable. And of course, that is how you found us discussing with different groups and then finding which group suits our objectives best. Shall I continue on politics?
Yeah. So my question is, why didn't you join the action group? Why did you join MPP and later you joined MPN?
Okay, I've explained that in politics.
Oh, it's not okay. These days we call it cross carpeting. You call it alliance. You were seeking
no.
alliance.
The cross carpeting is when you win an election into the House or to the position, and then you leave, you abandon the
mandate.
The mandate. The party will give a mandate, and you go somewhere else. But during the process of party formation, and I was involved in the process of party formation, you get involved to see which party formation will give the desired results for your constituency.
And that one is alliance.
That is alliance. That's right. You form alliances.
All right. Yeah. Okay. That's a new dimension to it. Now let's go further in your participation in politics. When you joined MPN, you were the chairman of the finance committee for Cross River State. President, then a candidate for the MPN, who later became the president of Nigeria, Shehu Shagari, personally penciled you down to serve as the Minister of Works in his 1979 cabinet. But you declined. You declined the ministerial offer when he won the election. Why did you decline?
Okay. Well, in 1979, that was when our company was really at its peak. The AMANA consortium was really at its peak. We had a lot of projects all over the country, and we had facilities which we were managing to ensure that a commitment to the projects was sustained. And really, to be very frank with you, I did not see how I could just pack up and leave that and go and serve as accept the ministerial appointment. And so I thought that would have to wait till some other time. I was also very young at the time. I was in my 30s, and I still had a lot of time ahead of me, and so I was not in a hurry to go in that direction.
So in summary, you chose your profession over politics, over the appointment.
Yes. In fact, my political involvement has always been that of giving. I have never really wanted to become a professional politician. I prefer to be an engineer who is interested in politics, because I see that I can use my position and my knowledge to impact the outcome in politics.
I think this is state-manly, and I think it should be recited and documented in the annals of history as a very strong reference point in our history. If you compare it to the present day reality, one would have abandoned the profession to grab that what I may call a juicy offer by a president. But you chose the profession. That shows your commitment and your love and dedication to the engineering practice and profession. Okay, another thing that happened after that was that you had an agreement with the party. Since we are declining the position, and the position should be given to someone from their community. Did the party honor that?
Oh yes. In fact, in politics, political office goes to people both in the personal capacity and the area which they represent. So the attraction was because of my contribution to the party, and of course it was also then zoned to my area, and so one of my very, very close friends became the Minister of Works there.
I think that's also another very important a very giant stride you took, because I know that in the present day reality, you come to a community and you see one towering image in that community. Naturally, they don't want anybody to compete them. They want to be the only people that are prominent even in families. They don't want anybody to compete them. They want to keep everybody below them. But when you decline this offer, ordinarily, in this present reality, somebody that declined would have looked elsewhere. But you wanted somebody from your community to take over up that position, which means it's not about you. You also think about your community. I think that's another kudos. That's another kudos to you. Now let's go further. What role did you play in 1993 presidential election? You also participated actively in 1993 presidential election. What role did you play?
Well, as I pointed out earlier, my passion really is to see how I can use my position to advance the cause of my people. And when I say my people, I'm talking about Nigeria as a whole, really, because in politics, I was always a national player and not a local one. And so in 1993 politics, I did exactly the same. I went. I got involved in promoting the objectives which I saw as most appropriate for the advancement of the country.
You started first with NRC, but when Abiola declared, you left NRC to join SDP. And why did you prefer Abiola to Tofa?
Well,
what ideologies did you see?
Well, okay. I hope that many people who are listening know that the policy of that time, it was government which formed the two parties. The NRC and the SDP were formed by the government, and I was appointed, so to say, into the finance committee of NRC. It was not a position which I sought, and so when the politicking started, I was able to make my own decision as to what I wanted to do, who I wanted to support, what ideas I wanted to promote. And those were the ideas which were captured in the SDP manifesto. So, and of course, Abiola was a good friend of mine. We became very close friends because we did some economic activities together. We traveled together to Asia, to Malaysia and Indonesia, and then to Brazil, to find ways of collaboration, between or amongst the countries of called the non-aligned, countries. So from that outing, we became very close friends, and so I believed that his chances of winning the election were good, and also that he had a more liberal approach to politics than that of going there to pocket everything. And of course, we worked together, for his presidency.
Okay, you mentioned that your participation in politics has always been to give, and you contributed a lot. In fact, you spent so much during the campaign of Abiola, personally on your own, without soliciting for any reward for that. And all the while you have been in politics, you never sought any political office. But in 1998, you decided to go inside the arena, and You contested, so this is not the first time you are coming inside the arena. You contested for the Akwa Ibom South senatorial seat, and you won the election in 1998. You were elected the senator-elect for Akwa Ibom South senatorial district. But that dream of going to the Senate became an illusion of hope following the death of General Sani Abacha, which culminated to the nullification of that election and ushered in a new government. Was that a blow to your political career?
Well, it was a situation which we didn't pray for, because we were looking forward to being part of the Senate and taking to the Senate the kind of outlook, the approach which we were using in the process of forming the party and then winning the election. So it was a blow. Yes, it was a blow to my political progression. But of course, God's time is the best.
Did you seek any other office, political office after that?
Oh yes. Well, after that, I decided that with the support of my constituency, that I should vie for the office of President of the Federal Republic, and that we did. We did that because we
under which platform?
We believe the platform which we used at that time was APP. We formed APP. I was one of the founding members of APP. I was very passionate in my political engagements, and when you are in politics, you must. Politics is all consuming, really. Anywhere there is a meeting, you must try to be there, because you don't know which meeting the important decisions be made. So we were all part of the meetings and the discussions we brought about the APP, and we vied for the presidency of that platform.
Are you a member of any political party today?
Not really, because to be a member of a political party requires that you make time to get engaged in all the activities of the party. And
are you sympathetic to any?
Not really, no. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go for some commercial for those who are joining us now.
I am sympathetic to a party which would provide the best government for Nigerians. The name does not really matter, so long as that party, and because I'm not involved in party politics. What concerns me is which party will give Nigeria and Nigerians the much sought after leadership which we want.
Okay, can I put it direct like this? In the present reality, which political party do you think has the capacity to give Nigeria what Nigeria desires?
No, you know,
Among the leading
moment,
political parties, among the parties on ground.
At the moment, the parties have not really come out with their manifestos. And it is when they come out with their manifestos that
They have their manifestos already.
Oh, I see.
All the political parties have their manifestos.
So far, they've not been canvassing manifestos. Also, so far, what we have been seeing are the individual, the personnel, the people who are seeking office. But I think after that, they'll come out with manifestos.
Okay, if you are just joining us, this is Inside the Arena. We have inside the arena a very distinguished son of OON community in Akwa Ibom State of Nigeria, a very distinguished engineer who has traversed the length and breadth of the engineering profession and practice. He has carved his niche in the profession and also left an indelible imprint in the annals of the engineering history. A first-class graduate of the Department of Civil Engineering, Imperial College, London. PhD graduate from Imperial College in London. Served as president of the Association of Consulting Engineers of Nigeria, and also president of the Nigerian Academy of Engineering. He's the chairman of AMANA Consortium, a very distinguished engineer, Dr. EDET, James AMANA, fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, fellow of the Academy of Engineering, and of course, a recipient of the National Honor of Officer Order of the Niger. Today in the arena, we have, as part of the program, you know, in every of our program, we have a winner when we go to the corner kick extra time segment, where we are going to have a winner who is going to be taking home this beautiful HP printer and also this very beautiful Samsung Galaxy A12 phone, and of course this beautiful souvenir from the AMANA Consortium. So when we get to the extra time segment, when we be asking our questions, get ready for that. A winner will definitely go home with this beautiful prize. Now, let me take you back again. You know, I want to bring to your memory two particular dates in your memory. One of the dates was 3rd of October 1960, just 3 days after Nigeria's independence. And the other date is 9th of May, 1969. That's just barely 4 months after you returned back from the United Kingdom. The other one was a day before you left Nigeria for United Kingdom. The other one was a day, 4 months after you returned from the United Kingdom. Do you remember these two dates? What do they remind you of? And can you share some insights about these new 2 dates?
Okay, thank you very much. The 3rd of October 1960 was the day before I traveled out of the country to the UK to further my studies in the UK. It was a moment for goodbyes, you know, going around to see my friends, especially my senior friends, to say goodbye to them. And I went to Obalende to say goodbye to some family friends there, and was returning I was staying in Yaba at the time, and my boss from Balende was to drop me off at Racecourse, and I would then pick another bus from Racecourse to Yaba. And as we arrived, my boss was coming into the Racecourse. There was a bus about to leave for Yaba. So I quickly came down from the bus from Balende and ran to get on the bus for Yaba. And I slipped and I fell. And it happened that I was trying to board the bus from the front. So when I fell, the tire, the back tire of the bus just rubbed my head and passed. So it was very—
Just rub their head.
Yes, just partly rubbed my head and passed. And it was it would have been a very bad news to hear that the young man who was about to leave the following day to the UK for studies had his head smashed by the bus at the Racecourse. But that was not my portion. But I stood up, I was very composed. People were surprised that I was not shaking. I just stood aside, and then the next bus came and I went. And then on the 9th of May, 1969, this was a Saturday, and I was working at that time. I was working for Shell. I did my time in the Shell office in Warri, and I had just acquired an accommodation in Ughelli. So me and my friend, Mr. Arret Adams was the petroleum engineer. I was a civil engineer. Arret Adams later became the MD, Group MD of NNPC, and later Minister of Petroleum. He wanted to go with me to see my new apartment. So he was with me in the car, and we were driving. I was driving to Ughelli, and on the way we pulled alongside an army convoy. We stayed behind them for quite a while, and then after a while they waved us to pass. So I passed them. And just to say thank you, I hooted the horn, pom pom. I don't know whether that was the offense. I passed them, and then they gave chase, and then they tried to get us off the road, and so we stopped. The soldiers jumped down and just pulled me out of my car and said, "Look, rebel, rebel." And the next thing was that they just opened fire on me. They opened the fire on me. Later, they told me it was a case of mistaken identity because I was at that time wearing a very heavy beard. I think at that time, anyone who wore a beard was regarded as someone who was rebellious. But well, that was an incident. They shot me with an automatic rifle. I later learned that the rifle sends out 3 bullets in close succession. Those people who are familiar with ballistics can testify to that. But the first bullet hit me in my thigh, and I was falling forward. The next bullet hit me in my abdomen, entered near my navel. Still falling with the third bullet just missed my head. and hit one of the soldiers who was beside me. It was a miracle that they did not blow me up with the hand grenade. One of them said, "Blew him up with the hand grenade," and they were trying to do so, but by a miracle, my wallet, which contained my military pass, dropped and was taken to the commander of the convoy, who was sitting in the open jeep enjoying the show. When he got my wallet and he opened it, and he saw inside that wallet a military pass signed by a friend of his. He saw the name, Dr. AMANA. He remembered that there was a Dr. AMANA who entertained him and his friend who signed that pass. So he jumped down from his open jeep and came to me and said, "Are you Dr. AMANA?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Wow, we made a big mistake." So he stopped his voice from finishing me up with the grenade. Yeah, the amazing thing was that from then on, because everyone was so confused, they didn't know what to do. So the amazing thing was that I had my compartment. I was able to to give them advice on what to do with me. They asked me, "Can you drive?" I said, "No, I cannot drive, but my friend here, Alex, can drive." So they packed me into the vehicle, and they didn't know where to take me. I said, "Take me to the Shell station in Ughelli, because there at least they would have some facility to see what they can do." And there was nothing they could do. And then, well, of course, we got to take me to a cool hospital. Now, because one of the colleagues was injured, the third bullet, which missed me, hit one of the colleagues. They said, "Well, unless the helicopter take the two of us." But this was a small helicopter who could only take one person on a stretcher. So the helicopter couldn't take the two of us. Well, they said, "Look, either you take the two of us or you go." So when it was getting dark, the helicopter could not fly in the dark, so it left. So I began the journey of my life. At that time, there were no roads. It was all gullies all over. But from Ughelli to Eku was a very bad experience. Because by the time we arrived at Eku, I'd lost all my blood. All my blood had gone out of me. And I was coming in out of consciousness. And but there was the doctor was waiting to receive us. Actually, to receive me, because Shell had made the arrangement for that doctor to receive me. But when we arrived at Eku, the soldier said, "Look, you must treat our colleague first." The doctor said, "Well, I'm the doctor. I know who requires my attention most." At that time, of course, there were very few doctors in Eku, because who was supported by the American Baptist mission, and they didn't have the quota to bring in many expatriates. So it was a lady called Dr. Hegel. She was a gynecologist who wheeled me in and said, "Shoot me." The lady asked them to shoot her, because she took over the trolley and wheeled me to the theater. And they had to pump 7 pints of blood into me before they could even administer the anesthetics. So it's a miracle that I'm here. It's a miracle that I'm here. And it's a miracle that I can still be part of this, program, inside the arena. Second time inside the arena, you said.
Now maybe that takes me to the next question. In 2018, in commemoration of your 80th birthday, you released an autobiography, The Sojourn of Providence. In the book, some of your associates, friends, and family members described you. Some described you as a product of hard work. Some said you are a paragon of virtue. Others said you are an epitome of humility, an embodiment of excellence. Some say you're a charismatic Christian, and so on. Why did you choose the title Sojourn of Providence?
Okay. Well, how the book came about. When one is 80 years old, especially when he has passed through the kind of history I have just narrated, it calls for celebration. Quite often, there's a program, a church program, in which people send in tributes, and the program sells in the church, and after that, it's not retained. And I thought it would be interesting to have people who wanted to send in tributes to send it so that it can be compiled. But then when we thought about that, a thought came to me: others will be writing about you, but you've not written about yourself. So I decided to also, as part of that book, to divide that book into two parts. The first part would be my own life as I have seen it, and then the second part, my life as others have seen it. So the book titled Sojourn of Providence, because that's what my life has been. Really, Providence has guided me all through life. And so my sojourn has been one of Providence. Is a book in two parts. The first part, my own narration of the things which have happened to me in life and how I've seen it. And the second part, the way others have seen me. And as I said earlier, a dancer in the marketplace does not know how beautifully performed. It is a spectator who can testify to either the excellence or non-excellence of his performance. So that is the origin of the book.
You will be 84 this year, and you still look very young. What is the secret?
Good. I love to share with all my friends the thoughts which I think can be useful to them. And when I reflect on my life, I have some thoughts which I believe have helped me to stay the way I am. When I was shot and came back from death, I realized that if I will survive and remain active, I must do something about my health. So that brought about a health consciousness. That health consciousness makes me think about the things which I do, which can impact my health. One of the things which I did a lot of after the hospitalization was going through therapy, physiotherapy, because all my joints were locked. I was in traction for about 2 months. Sorry, in plaster, my whole body plaster for 2 months. When the plaster was taken off, I couldn't bend my knee again. My knee was locked. My spine was locked, and I had to go through a lot of physiotherapy. So physiotherapy means exercise. And so exercising is one of the things which I do compulsorily every day. I must do some exercise. Now, exercise is physical, there is spiritual exercise, and there is other areas of exercise, including economic exercise. Economic exercise means that you plan your life. How am I going to survive? So physical exercise means that I take care of my physique. Exercise, feeding habits, not exposing yourself to a disease which will make you take a lot of medicine, because each medicine you take has its own side effects. So on the whole, having a disciplined life. So that is one of the things which has happened to me as a result of the incident which almost took my life. Discipline and health consciousness.
Okay, we'll be wrapping it up now. Let me also ask you this. What or which accomplishment are you very proud of? That accomplishment that when you turn back and look at it, you look up and say, thank God I was part of this, or I achieved this.
Good. The part of my life which I treasure so much is that part of my life in which I'm adding value around me. I love to add value to people around me. I love to add value wherever I find myself, to see what I can do to raise the level of human dignity. In support of that, I have a foundation which does just that. Foundation which tries to add value in the areas of education, healthcare, economic empowerment, and so on. I began to give scholarships at a very early age, because I was the product of scholarships. I went through all my schooling. I've enjoyed scholarships. So from the word go, from the very first salary I drew, I found ways to assist indigent students to achieve their own objectives of studying and excelling in their studies. Those are the things which I really appreciate.
You have talked about the Nigeria of your dream, what you enjoyed when you came back from the United Kingdom, or what motivated most Nigerians then to return back. Now, if you had known that the Nigeria of your dream would have been an illusion of hope, would you have returned to Nigeria from London or from the United Kingdom?
Well, let's put it this way. The passion of my life has been how to add value. And when you add value, you add value at whatever level you are. So the level at which we find ourselves in Nigeria would not have affected my desire to add value to my country. So I would not the idea of running away from Nigeria because it's not doing so well doesn't appeal to me at all. I mean, what appeals to me is to see how I can, at my own position, where I am, help to make things better in the country. I may not be running for president again at 83. I'm not even running for senator or whatever. But there's something I can do to add value, and that is what I enjoy doing.
Now, on a final note, what is your advice for young Nigerians, and what is your wish for Nigeria?
My advice to young Nigerians is to work at making our country better. Now, how can they do that? Being young and being energetic and hopefully being full of good ideas, they can bond together and help to bring about change. I tell you, when I in 1960, I was in my 20s, and I was part of the movement of young Nigerians who stopped the federal government from signing a military pact with Britain. Our thinking was, look, we've just become independent. We don't want to surrender our independence by just following morning signing a military pact. And we organized a very strong resistance. We stopped the federal government from signing that military pact. We also see that young people, the NSAS event was an event in which young people organized themselves to bring about change for the better. I think so. That tells us that young people can organize themselves and ensure that our country goes through change for the better. The NSAS thing, of course, was hijacked by hoodlums, but that is experience. So they should not say, we failed during NSAS. No, we don't want to organize ourselves again. The election is coming. So let the young people get together and ensure that the right kind of leadership is voted into governance. So that is my advice to young people. We cannot all run away from the country. Run to Canada, run to Britain, run to Australia. Now, as I said earlier, Nigeria is the biggest exporter of skilled manpower, and that is terrible for any nation to export just the kind of people who you need to build up the country. We don't want that to happen. Young people, stay back in Nigeria, organize yourselves, and bring about the change which you require.
Stay back in Nigeria, organize yourselves, and bring the kind of change that we desire. That is your parting shot. We want to appreciate you, Engineer Dr. EDET, James, AMANA, SU, Okwang Otoyo, Antai Anting, Bidu, OON, FAEng, FNSE, for joining us inside the arena today. We're going to go to the corner key segment of this program. We will take questions from the participants. Participants will ask you questions. We take it in batches of 2 so that you can be able to respond to the questions. You respond to the questions, and then after that, we move to the extra time segment. That is the prize giving segment. And you have some immunity, because we also try as much as we can to protect the guests. If any question that is asked by the participant is considered to have gone beyond the bounds of propriety, the host has the right, the exclusive right, to flag that question as offside. And when a question is flagged as offside, that means you are exonerated. You have immunity from responding to the question. So the floor is open. We are going to take questions. If you have a question, that's our rule. You raise your hand, you click the raise hand button, and then we allow you to ask a question. Engineer Adolu Odushote.
Thank you so very much.
We take Chinwendu.
Thank you so very much. Dr. Mana, thank you for this time you've shared. You've talked about 50 years past. As much as you can, and as short as you can make it, could you just paint a picture of Nigeria as you see it in the next 50 years?
The next
50 years.
Come again, please.
I just wanted to paint a picture of Nigeria as you see it. It may not even be up to 50 years, 10, 20, 30 years, based on the kind of track of experience you've had in the past 50 years.
Okay, we take the second question, Chinwendu, Sunday. Then we allow our guests to respond, then we come back to the questions. Chinwendu, Sunday, can you unmute? Okay, go on with your unmuted. Go on with your question.
Okay. Good afternoon, Dr. Amana. Good afternoon, Engineer Benosi, and all the participants. I want to appreciate God for your life, Dr. Amana. It's indeed a miracle. I really admire your life and all your achievements. And I want to ask, in the course of when you were talking, you mentioned of you have a foundation. So I want to know, what is the name of your foundation? Thank you, sir.
Okay, we allow Engineer Amana to respond to the questions, then we come back to the...
Good. Okay, let me start with the simplest one. The foundation is called EDET AMANA Foundation. The foundation was actually set up by my children, unknown to me, because they have seen my effort to impact lives of people all around. So they went and registered this foundation and brought it up as a gift to me on my 80th birthday. So it is called EDET AMANA Foundation. And what I will do is that I will send a link to this foundation to Ben, so that it can let others link onto it. But one of the things which we are doing is that we are giving scholarships, and this year, last month, in fact, we announced a scholarship for 60 students, drawn all over the country. Now, we have scholarship. Now, we also, just now we are organizing a program to promote the learning of the STEM subjects, STEM, that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. This program we are doing jointly with my colleagues in Imperial College. There's a Nigerian in Imperial College called Sunday Kupola, who is passionate about the promotion of the STEM subjects, and he is. We are working with him to get this program implemented within our own regional area. We are also very passionate about providing the learning infrastructure for young people, to especially in the rural areas, to learn, have access to the internet, and to learn skills which enable them to compete in the modern economy. So we are building an ICT hub in OON, where the young people in that environment can have access to ICT, and also an environment in which they can grow their businesses. We also have health programs, so the foundation is there, which I'll provide the link. Now, the first question: how do I see Nigeria in the future? 20 years, 30 years, 50 years? I think Nigeria will come out of its present situation, a situation which has been compounded by insecurity, because, as I said earlier, nobody wants to invest in an insecure environment, and when the insecurity is tackled and overcome, then you can see investments coming back into the country. And because Nigerians are so resourceful, everywhere Nigerians go, they excel. When I was in Imperial College, Nigerians made the wave there. I don't know if some of you remember a man called Owojobi. Professor Owojobi in Unilag. He was one of those who was at Imperial at my time, and he was recognized as one of the leading lights in his area of study. So, and not only in science, Nigerians were winning all the prizes in other areas, in accountancy, name it. And we are still getting a trail everywhere. So when the environment at home becomes better, that resourcefulness of Nigerians will bring about a quantum leap, and there will be so the backsliding will stop, and we shall begin to have an upward climb. And of course, we then do what they are planning now in Dubai. They are planning for 50 years ahead. They want to see the sign, how the science, project into the future, and see where science would take the people in 50 years. We can do that in Nigeria, and I think we shall. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We take the next question, Engineer Pere Reye Pedro. And then we have Ofonime Harry. We take the two questions. Please, can we go straight to the questions?
Okay. Good evening, sir. Good evening, Engineer Ben. Good evening, all the fellow participants on the arena. Sir, it's a pleasure listening to you. I have been so inspired. And let me just quickly say this. While listening to you, you made mention of engineers doing so well in anywhere we find ourselves. And for this thing you said, I was just thinking and saying that you also tried going for the office of the president, which if you had gotten, would have actually changed the infrastructural and so many other developments of this country. But sir, I think since when your dream was not actualized, yeah, we've had past presidents, they've tried their best, but for an engineer to be in the helm of affairs would have actually brought better changes to this country. How can we as an engineering body see how we could put in good brains from the engineering body to make sure that the country, like we will get the result of what we hope for? Because from listening to you, indeed, engineers have a brighter and broader brain in handling situations. Thank you, sir.
Ofonime Harry, please just go straight to the question because we don't have time. Unmute your mic, please.
Good afternoon, Engineer AMANA. I want to congratulate you on the 50 years of existence of AMANA Consulting. I have had the privilege of staying under your company for years, and I'm also an alumnus of Imperial College, courtesy of Engineer AMANA. It's been a privilege learning from him, and I want to pray that God will give him long life to continue to impact life and bring up engineers, young engineers in this country and beyond. That's my contribution.
Thank you. I think since that's a contribution, we take the next person to ask question. Gabriela, member. Are you a member of the
Hello.
Order of the Federal Republic?
Maybe Engineer Benosi. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Dr. AMANA. I would want to appreciate the number of years you have lived, and that's 83 years. It's huge. And to see that you're this healthy and articulate. So I want to thank you. But most importantly, I also want to appreciate your contributions to building a critical mass of intellectuals and intelligent Nigerians. Because as a person who is passionate about Nigeria's technological and industrial development, I am very certain that education is critical. And you also alluded to it when you talked about the linkage between academia and, of course, industry, and the importance of developing market-driven or churning out market-driven research. And looking at our situation in Nigeria, especially with the current ASU strike, it threatens the development and the production of the critical mass, which we need for our industrial development, and which will only come through development in technology. Dr. Mana, I want to please ask you, if you were given the opportunity to mediate and to advise the dons of the universities, our lecturers, what would be your advice to them? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I think that may be the last question. We allow Engineer AMANA to respond to the question so that we can go to the next section or next segment of our program and wrap it up for today.
Well, okay, Engineer Pedro was referring to the role of engineers in governance. Yes, if I can tell you that one of the things which my opponents were using against me in the campaign when I was running for president was that I shall use technology to ensure that people don't cheat. I would use technology to ensure that people don't cheat and do things like that. Well, I think that is, as I said earlier, engineers are great doers. By our training as engineers, we are trained to make things happen. We are trained to build. We design to construct. When I was handling a project on transportation planning, we use geographers because geographers are called planners. They are the ones who do planning, the physical planning, but they lack the engineering mindset, which takes the plan from a written document to a road or a bridge, something implementation. And that's what I found why many plans which are done by planners, geographers, don't get implemented because they don't get beyond to get that point. So engineers can bring to governance the approach of moving from conceptualization to making it happen. And when you see countries in the world which excel, take for instance, China governing board, so to say, Council of Ministers, contains mainly technical people, engineers and scientists, because their mindset is that of implementation. And how do we get engineers more involved in politics? Well, is by creating awareness, because the training of engineers has, as I said earlier, is skewed towards just technology and mathematics and so on. But they must now realize that, as one philosopher said, that the the greatest tragedy in the world is when the brilliant people abandon politics to those who are not so brilliant, and then they lord it over them and decide what happens. So I think the engineers need to have that awareness, and we will continue to drum it into all the areas, the NSE, the academies, and the academies of this world of Nigeria, that engineers must become more and more engaged in political activities. Now, wonderful lady Gabriela.
Gabriela.
Yes.
Oh,
Gabriela.
yes, please. Good afternoon, doctor.
How much your mobile?
Okay.
Continue, sir.
Yes, I was just trying to recall what your question about education. What about education?
She was asking what role, if you are asked to mediate between what is, yes.
Good. If I'm asked to mediate, you know, what I have discovered in life is that you get a lot more joy out of giving than out of receiving. The good book says it is more blessed to give than to receive. My good friend Abiola said, EDET, the hand which gives is always on top. So what I would pray is that our lecturers, even though they may have a good cause, let them think about giving. But because they have a great trust, the trust which is ours is the education, imparting knowledge to the young ones in their charge. All this prolonged strike by ASU, making students have 4, 5, or 6, 7 years in college instead of the 3 or 4 which it should be. It is not good for them, for their own children. So I would tell them to find it in their hearts to give. I will, of course, also advise the Education Administration Authority, Ministry of Education, and so on, and of course, labor. You know, the people, because you know, where there is smoke, look, and you find some fire. So we'll find a way to also see how they can accommodate some of the genuine demands of the teachers. So my mediation would be both ways. Teachers, have it in your hearts to think about these young people whom God has entrusted into your hands to train, to educate, to bring up. They in fact should be part of their glory. I've seen teachers, lecturers, professors who take so much pleasure in seeing the young people who who they train grow up. So teachers, think about that. And of course, government, there's need to do the needful and to ensure that the most important demands of teachers are met.
Wow. Thank you very much, Engineer Dr. EDET James AMANA. It's been wonderful having you inside the arena. I knew it was going to be a very eventful one, even when the president of Korea also canvassed that I should bring you in as quickly as possible. I knew it was not going to be a dull moment having you inside the arena. I have known you for a couple of years now. And my first major contact with you was around 2015 or 2014 when I came to deliver. I organized a training in Lagos on the use of civil soft for structural design. I had known AMANA for years. I have heard of the company, but I never met you. So you were in that class. I didn't know you were part of that class. And you followed everything till the end of the lecture. And it was on the last day that you called me, you appreciated my wonderful way of lecture, even encouraged me that I should go into lecturing. When you now gave me your card, I looked at the card and I saw AMANA. I was awed. I was like, wow, what is going on here? And that shows a kind of humble personality you are. And you said you didn't come because you were seeking new knowledge, but some of the workers in your office were using the application. You wanted to be on the same page with them so that you could understand some of the tools that we are using, so that when they come for presentations, you will not be left behind. At that age, you still had time to come to be part of that lecture. It shows your commitment to the engineering profession and, most importantly, your level of humility. And since then, we've been very great friends. You've invited me for lunch in your house on 2 occasions, and I will not forget those memorable occasions I shared with you. I want to sincerely thank you for being part of this program today. And I pray that God will continue to give you more grace to continue to do his work, both for humanity and also the nation. Now we are at the last lap of this program. I want to first of all appreciate you for donating these items, this beautiful HP laptop and this beautiful Samsung phone and this beautiful package from AMANA Consortium. Is a souvenir for the celebration of the 50th anniversary of AMANA Consortium. And we have a question. The question is just very simple. And the way it goes is this: the first person to send in on the chat box, the first person to send in the correct answer will win the question. And we've had a caveat before, and we are going to announce it because we said earlier that those who had won before will not be eligible to win again. But we have reviewed that, and we say that if you have won before and you get the correct answer, you can win again. And we want to also, first of all, apologize to Engineer Adejumo, who won earlier, and when he won another time, we didn't allow him. In fact, we told him and the president of FNSE, who was the first winner of our prize, that they were not going to be qualified to win again, and other subsequent winners. But today, we are opening it up for everybody. If you win, even if you win 20 times, it's now at your discretion to decide who you can give or award the prize to. But we allow everybody to participate. Then on that note, we go straight to the question. We have 2 questions, and the first person to send in the correct answer will win the prize. The 2 questions, you send the answers together. Engineer AMANA left Nigeria for United Kingdom, that's Imperial College, on what date? And also, on which day of the week was Engineer AMANA born? 2 questions. He left Nigeria for United Kingdom on what date? And in which day of the week was he born? The floor is open. Okay. So the questions are already coming. You go in to the chat box. You see the first person to send in the correct question. We will declare the person. I think I've seen the correct answers, but we allow Engineer AMANA to give us the correct answer. Then we look into the box and now see the person that got the correct answer first. So what is the correct answer? What date did you leave Nigeria for United Kingdom?
On the 4th of October, 1960.
4th of October, 1960. And what day of the week were you born?
Sunday.
Sunday. Okay, let's go to the chat box to see who got the answer correct. We begin with Pedro got it wrong. Galaxy A7 got it wrong. I think the next person, 4th of October, but Wednesday, he got it wrong. The next person, 3rd of October, 1960, Saturday, he got it wrong. Got it wrong. If 1960 correct, I think the next person, 4th of October, 1960, engineer OAU Uche. 1960 correct and Sunday correct. I think the first person to submit the first correct answer is OAU Uche. OAU Uche, please can you show us your face, your video, so that we can see your face? I want to pin you to the video. Can I see your face? Show us your video. Engineer OAU Uche. Okay. Engineer OAU Uche. Wow. A big congratulations to you, Engineer OAU Uche. Can you speak? Where are you? Where did you join us from?
From my base.
You joined from Kanu.
Yes.
From Kanu. And
yes.
Coincidentally, the first person inside the arena who kickstarted it, Engineer A.A. Rabiu, president of Koren, lives in Kanu, and we hosted him from Abuja, but he was in Kanu at that time. And at present, I know he's in Kanu. I hope you are not together with him.
We are not together, but very soon we'll be together. If that is
Ben, you can see the man is driving. He's driving while I'm in my office.
Oh.
I wanted to know whether it's Kanu collaboration. A very big congratulations to you.
Any serious question. The questions are not serious. And it's a matter of interest.
Okay.
AMANA is a knight of John Wesley of Methodist Church, Nigeria. And you have been calling him only engineer doctor, but he says, sir. He's a knight of John Wesley. And we reverence knight of John Wesley.
Thank you very much for that information.
Thank you, Engineer Chair. We are really appreciate it.
Thank you. So these are the prizes you have won for yourself. This beautiful printer and this phone and this beautiful package from AMANA Consortium. We say congratulations to you, Engineer.
Thank you very much,
Uche. And on a final note, we want to say a very big thank you to all the participants and most importantly, our guests, Engineer Sir, Dr. EDET James AMANA, Fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Engineering, and a recipient of the National Honor of Officer of the Order of the Niger. It's been a wonderful time with you, and I say a very big thank you to all of us for participating. I remain yours sincerely, Engineer Ben O.C. Oko, the host, signing out. See you next week inside the arena, we'll be having the first female guest inside the arena, a very distinguished engineer, first female head of civil service of the Federation, very distinguished engineer Ebele Ofunna Amaka Okeke. See you next week inside the arena and have a very wonderful week ahead. God bless you all.
Let me also use this chance to thank you all of you, 70-something people who've tuned, linked in to listen to this discussion. I really appreciate you, and I pray for you that God will guide you and give you your own achievements in life, lead you to success in your endeavors. I pray for you in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Amen.
Thank you, Ben. Well done.